Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k, the Necrons channel. Now we're on episode 7 of this mini Know Your Foe series, a preview for 10th edition, going through the faction focuses from Warhammer community and going through the army rules and detachment rules and anything else that is of interest, and we're looking for weaknesses or just observations so that we're getting ready for 10th edition. And yeah, today we're going to be doing the Adeptus Mechanicus. So guys, as always, remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new around here before we get into today's video. Okay, so AdMech, what have they got for the faction rule? In fact, we'll start with the army rule. That's where you should begin. Army rule. In fact, not everything actually has this army rule by the looks of it, before we even get into this, because judging by they've showcased two data sheets, the Skitarii Vanguard, which have the faction rule, Doctrina Imperatives. Then they also showcased their epic hero, the Belisarius Cal, but I can't see the army rule on that datasheet for that epic hero. So I'm wondering if everything does get this or not. I'm not entirely sure. Is that an error or who knows, right? But let's get on to this army rule. The Doctrina Imperatives. So at the start of the battle round, they can select one of the Doctrina Imperatives below. Until the end of the battle round, the Doctrina Imperative is active for your army, and all units from your army that have the Doctrina Imperatives ability gain the relevant ability shown below. Now before we get into that, it's kind of making me think about our Catan shard again, because in the reanimation protocols video we did probably a week or so ago now, I was just under the assumption that everything was going to have the reanimation protocols army rule. But looking at this now, it's kind of making me think maybe not everything will. Maybe the Catan shards won't have reanimation protocols. So watch your space for that one. But yeah, let's get back into this. I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. So you've got two options to select. Well, they have got two options to select. We don't, unfortunately. Number one, Protector Imperative. And then there's 2 bullet points within it, whereas previously there was, what did they used to have? They used to select multiple different ones and it increased all sorts of different stuff. So it's kind of been revamped. It's a new version of this rule. So Protector Imperative, ranged weapons of all models in the unit have the heavy ability. So that is if they stay stationary, +1 to their ballistic skill. Now in fact, speaking of ballistic skill, it looks like they've lost some ballistic skill as well. It looks like they've gone down to ballistic skill 4+. Previously they were a 3+. So, sidetracked again, let's get back on. Right, so they can gain the heavy keyword army-wide, which, yes, that is a good thing, although it isn't, because if they've lost ballistic skill, it's not a good thing. But it also really restricts their movement, doesn't it? Because they've got to stay stationary, whereas previously they didn't have to. They just move around, take a shot, job done. So that's going to be very restrictive for them, so you're going to have to keep your eye on that one. You're not going to find them moving as often if they're taking this imperative. Now the second part to this Protector Imperative is each time a ranged attack targets the unit, if this unit is within their own deployment zone, worsen our armor penetration characteristic by 1. I mean, what can we do against that? We can fire higher AP weapons, I guess, but AP has been reset. That one is quite a decent one, especially for, standard weaponry, Ghost Flayers, Ghost Reapers, that kind of thing. That's going to hurt. But that's if they're in their own deployment zone. But if they're not moving that often, maybe they're like the new Dark Angels or Tau, where they're going to stay back and shoot. Who knows how they're going to play. So that's the first Protector Imperative. The second one is the Conqueror Imperative. So this is the other option number 2. All ranged attacks equipped by the models in this unit have the Assault ability. So this is in fact the complete opposite to what I've just said. So everything has got assault, everything can now advance and still fire. So they're basically getting D6 to their movement and then firing as normal. The second bullet point is each time a unit makes a ranged attack, if the target of the attack is within your opponent's deployment zone, improve your AP, or improve their AP by 1. So if we are in our deployment zone and they're firing at us, they're going to improve their AP by 1. So this, with the Conqueror Imperative, they're coming closer and firing at us in our deployment zone. So if we're playing defensive, they're going to pick Conqueror. If we're playing aggressive, they're probably going to select Protector. So they do have a bit of flexibility, and they choose this at the start of the battle round, so they can change this out throughout the game. And of course they get to see not only our list, but our deployment and everything else in between. So it's not bad, to be fair. It's not bad. They probably had it much better before, but there is definitely some flexibility, and it all depends on what units have this ability. Again, the epic hero didn't actually have it. Having the assault ability, that means they cannot charge after making an advance move. So in fact, that's also another restriction. In fact, if they make an advance move with an assault, well, it doesn't have to be an assault weapon, but they gain the assault ability, they make an advance move, they're not going to be charging unless they've got something that they can charge with. Speaking of which, let's go into another little sidetrack here. There is a stratagem, aggressor imperative. So in the charge phase, they can select one Skitarii unit that has advanced this turn, and they can effectively charge even though they've advanced, and they can only use it if they've got the Conqueror Imperative, which is the one we were just talking about. So there is still a way of them advancing with the assault weapons and then making a charge move if they wanted to. So yeah, that is the army rule. In terms of weaknesses for the army rule, well, you got to consider what imperative they're going to take to begin with. I mean, that's quite difficult because especially if they go first, if they get first turn, they're going to select this and they're going to start using it there and then. If they go second, it's probably better for us because we get an entire turn to do something about it. If they're going heavy, we can rush forward. If they're going with the assault, we can stay back as far as we can because we want them to come to us. So yeah, first turn kind of is a bit key for their ability. So on to the detachment rule, which is Rad Bombardment. Now at first glance when I looked at this, I thought, damn, this is really good. Against most factions, this is going to be incredible. But we're Necrons. I don't think it's going to be that good against us. So let's get into it and I'll explain why I think it's okay. So Bombardment, battle round 1, at the start of the first battle round. So you literally deploy, at the start of the first battle round, each enemy unit within the opponent's deployment zone. So if we're in our deployment zone, which we will be, unless there's some sort of forward deploy abilities, maybe flayed ones or Canoptic Scarabs get some sort of forward deploy ability. I'm kind of making this up. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. But we've got the option of either taking cover or standing firm. If we take cover, then until the end of the battle round, our unit is battle shocked. We've virtually failed battle shock already. They are battle shocked. If the unit stands firm, roll 1d6 for each unit. On a 3+, we suffer d3 mortal wounds. Now, if we are battle shocked, we can't use stratagems on the unit. If we're battle shocked, we can't. Fallback isn't really a big problem, is it? But we also lose objective control, which also isn't a big deal. In turn 1, we can't score primaries. It's very unlikely that we're going to be scoring secondaries. Mission objectives, I mean, maybe they're there in battle round 1. But the other option, suffering d3 mortal wounds, I think that's okay. We're Necrons, so reanimation protocols, if you remember, in the command phase, we get d3 mortal wounds back, and even lost models, we're going to be getting those back too. So even if we did get really unlucky and lose, say, a Scorbet Destroyer, we, 3 mortal wounds, went on a Scorbet Destroyer unit, and we lost one whole Scorbet Destroyer, on our next command phase, we can pop that guy back up with 1 wound, or 2 wounds, or 3 wounds, depending on what you roll for reanimation protocols. So I don't think it's that bad against Necron players. It then goes on battle round 2 onwards, so for the rest of the game, if we stay within our deployment zone, they roll a 3+ for every unit and we suffer a mortal wound. Again, it's the same story here. Reanimation protocols will literally solve that. I mean, yes, you might lose a model and then they start focus firing on that unit. It makes it a little bit easier for them. But if that's their detachment role, I'm okay with that. Now, against other factions, that's a really good ability. Taking d3 mortal wounds to every unit in their deployment zones, that's kind of mad. But we've got the ability to keep healing lost wounds and lost models. So I'm not worried one bit about their detachment role. Just one more observation before I go today. There was another stratagem that they showcased, which was basically they can give a Skitarii unit that was targeted by enemy attacks. You can give them a 4+ invulnerable save until the end of the turn. That's only if they've got the Protector Imperative ability active for their army. A 4+ invulnerable save, as and when they want it, that's pretty good. But yeah, that's a little observation from me. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm not too worried about the detachment role. And as for the army role, I think it restricts them. I really do. I think it's a huge weakness. It's going to restrict their movement. Or if they want to go for the Conqueror Imperative, go for the Assault version, we're going to know what they're doing. And not only that, the Doctriner Imperatives are kind of kitted out towards a ranged army, not so much a melee army. Whereas previously it helped either the range or the melee side of it, depending on what they wanted. This doesn't seem to do that. So again, that's another restriction. So guys, that is it from me today. Let me know if you've got any more thoughts about these in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.